Before we begin, I want to warn you that this story contains mature themes. It deals with the challenges of new motherhood, family relationships, and infidelity. If these topics make you uncomfortable, you might want to stop watching now. I never imagined my life turning out this way. Not once, in all my years of growing up, did I picture myself here, standing in a cramped studio apartment, staring at a sink covered in toothpaste stains, listening to the faint hum of traffic outside my window as the world moved forward without me. This wasn't the dream. I was supposed to have a husband, a house, stability. I was supposed to be comfortable by now, waking up in a home I owned, with someone beside me who loved me, who helped me carry the weight of life. But that's the thing about expectations, they shatter easily. And when they do, all you can do is keep moving. My name is Braley Shepherd, and I am 44 years old. I have spent more than 2 decades raising a son alone. No partner, no support, just me. And I won't lie, it's been hard. There have been nights where I've sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much more I can take. Maximus Espinoza, my son, is 22 now. That number still feels strange to say out loud. I remember him as a baby, his tiny fingers curling around mine, his sleepy murmurs in the middle of the night. And now, he's taller than me, with his own thoughts, his own struggles, his own life that no longer revolves around me. A part of me feels left behind. I tell myself that's normal. That this is how motherhood works, you give until they don't need you anymore. And that's supposed to be a good thing, right? A sign that I did my job well. So why does it feel like I'm the one who's lost? We live in a tiny studio, just one open space, a bed on one side, a small kitchenette on the other. The bathroom is the only place with a door, and even that doesn't always feel like enough. Privacy? That doesn't exist here. I hear everything. His late-night phone calls, the soft clinking of dishes when he sneaks a midnight snack, the sound of his breathing when he sleeps. And I know he hears me too. There's no escaping each other in a place like this. At first, we made it work. We had to. Rent isn't cheap, and I work long hours just to keep us afloat. Some weeks, I barely have the energy to hold a conversation, let alone deal with anything outside of survival. And Maximus, he's trying to find his own way. He works part-time, takes classes when he can, but I see the frustration in his face. He wants more. Independence. Freedom. A life that isn't wrapped up in mine. I want that for him too. But wanting something doesn't always mean knowing how to let it happen. Every morning was the same fight. I'd wake up early, trying to squeeze in a quick shower before rushing to work. Maximus would bang on the door, irritated because he needed to get ready too. We'd yell back and forth, stress mounting, patience wearing thin. Some days, I'd give up, let him go first, even if it made me late. Other days, he'd be the one stomping away, muttering about how unfair it was. We were stuck in this endless cycle, 2 people trapped in a space too small for both of us, both needing time, both needing something more than this life was giving us. And then, one morning, after yet another rushed argument, we did something different. We sat down. We talked. We needed a solution. A way to stop these fights before they ruined what little peace we had left. Maximus was the one who brought it up first. Why don't we just shower at the same time? At first, I laughed, thinking he was joking. But he wasn't. He was serious. And when I really thought about it, it made sense. What was the alternative? Wasting precious minutes waiting for the bathroom when we were both on tight schedules? Arguing every morning, starting the day off feeling irritated and rushed? It wasn't weird, I told myself. It wasn't inappropriate. It was just practical. A mother and her son, sharing a space. Nothing more. So we did it. The first time was awkward, but we laughed it off. Made jokes about how ridiculous it was. There wasn't much space, so we had to move carefully, taking turns under the water, keeping it quick. It was just a routine, a small adjustment to make life easier. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. But after a while, something felt different. At first, I ignored it. Brushed it off as overthinking, exhaustion, stress. Maybe it was the way we started talking more in the shower than we did anywhere else. It was easier, somehow. There were no distractions, just us, steam filling the air, water drowning out the world beyond that curtain. Or maybe it was how comfortable we became. Too comfortable. There were moments, small ones, barely noticeable, where I'd catch myself feeling something I couldn't name. A strange pull, an unspoken tension that settled between us. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I did what I always do. I ignored it. I told myself it was nothing. That I was tired. That I was just feeling lonely. That all of this, the closeness, the strange feeling in my chest, was just a side effect of being stretched too thin, too used to being alone. I pushed it down. Buried it under the weight of all the other things I didn't have time to deal with. I never once thought about where it would lead. Never once let myself believe that something so small, so simple, a morning routine, a shared space, could change everything. But it did. And once a line is crossed, there's no going back. I wish I could tell you the exact moment everything changed. That there was some defining event, a moment of clarity where I could see the shift happening in real time. But it wasn't like that. It was slow. Subtle. 1,000 small moments that blurred together until I couldn't tell where one ended and another began. And by the time I realized what was happening, it was already too late. At first, the showers were nothing but routine. Just a solution to a problem. A way to keep things moving, to stop fighting about time and space. But over time, something about those moments started to feel different. It was the only part of the day where we weren't distracted by anything else. No phones, no outside world. Just the sound of running water and the quiet understanding that this was our time together. The conversation started changing. In the beginning, we talked about mundane things, what we had planned for the day, what errands needed to be done, whether the landlord had finally fixed the leaky kitchen faucet. But then, the topics got deeper. One morning, Maximus let out a frustrated sigh and muttered, "I don't know why I even bother applying for jobs. Nobody wants me." I turned to look at him, confused. "What are you talking about?" "Of course they do." He laughed, but it wasn't his usual laugh. It was bitter, hollow. "Then why do I keep getting rejected?" I didn't have an answer. I wanted to tell him that everything would work out, that he was smart, hardworking, and capable. But the truth was, I knew what rejection felt like. I knew what it was like to pour yourself into something, to want it so badly, only to be told you aren't good enough. And before I knew it, I was telling him things I hadn't told anyone in years. About the time I almost got my dream job, only to have it slip away at the last second. About the nights I spent crying alone in my car, too ashamed to let him see me break down. About the weight of carrying everything on my own for so long that I didn't even know how to ask for help anymore. Maximus listened. He didn't try to fix it, didn't give me some empty reassurance that everything happens for a reason. He just listened. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. Looking back, I think that was the moment I stopped seeing him as just my son. Not in a way that was wrong or unnatural, at least, not at first. But suddenly, he was the only person I could talk to. The only person who understood what it felt like to struggle, to feel like you're drowning under the weight of expectations you can't meet. I started relying on him in ways I never had before. If something went wrong at work, he was the one I vented to. If I had a bad day, he was the one I turned to for comfort. And maybe that would have been fine, if I had anyone else. But I didn't. I had let go of everything else, friends, relationships, even casual conversations with coworkers. And I hadn't even noticed it happening. Until one day, my friend Tiana Buchanan called me out on it. "You've been dodging my calls, Brayley." I shifted uncomfortably, pressing the phone tighter to my ear. I've just been busy. No, you've been avoiding people. I opened my mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Because she was right. She sighed, softer this time. You need to get out of that apartment. You need to have a life outside of Maximus. I do. Do you? I hated that I didn't have an answer. Maximus started pulling away right around the time I realized how much I was clinging to him. At first, it was small. Nights where he stayed out later. Days where he barely spoke to me. Moments where he seemed distracted, distant, somewhere else entirely. And then, one morning, he dropped a bombshell. I applied for a job out of state. I froze. What? He didn't look at me when he said it. I need something new, Mom. I can't stay here forever. I knew this was coming. I knew. But knowing something doesn't mean you're ready for it. I forced a smile, tried to sound supportive. That's great, sweetheart. Really. I'm proud of you. And I meant it. But I also felt something else. Something I didn't want to admit. Panic. If Maximus left, what would I have left? Who would I be without him? The thought terrified me, more than I could put into words. And that fear started seeping into my actions. I started checking in more often. Texting him, calling him, asking where he was going. At first, he didn't seem to mind. He answered, like he always had. But then, one night, he didn't come home. Not until 2 a.m. And something in me snapped. The second he walked in, I was on him. Where were you? He blinked, caught off guard. Out. With who? Why does it matter? His tone set me off. Because I worry about you, Maximus. Because you used to tell me things, and now it's like you don't even care. I don't have to tell you everything, Mom. Since when? He ran a hand over his face, frustrated. Since I became an adult. Since I started trying to have a life outside of this apartment. The words hit harder than I expected. And what am I supposed to do? My voice cracked before I could stop it. Just sit here and wait for you to leave? That's not my problem. Silence. I felt it in my bones, the finality of those words. He wasn't trying to hurt me. But he did. Because it wasn't just about this fight. It was about all the moments that led up to it. All the ways I had let my world shrink down to just him. And now, he was leaving me behind. And I had no idea how to handle it. I should have seen it coming. I tell myself that over and over again, like if I say it enough times, I'll start believing it. That I wasn't blindsided. That I wasn't caught off guard. That I knew this moment would come. But the truth is, I didn't see it. I didn't want to. I had been so wrapped up in our world, in the comfort of our routine, that I ignored every warning sign. I told myself that our closeness was normal, that there was nothing wrong with the way we relied on each other. But deep down, I knew. And the moment Maximus said it out loud, everything inside me shattered. I'm moving out, Mom. He said it so casually, like he was telling me he was picking up groceries. Like he wasn't ripping my heart out. I felt the air leave my lungs. I forced myself to breathe, to keep my expression neutral, to pretend that my world wasn't collapsing in slow motion. What? He didn't look at me. That was the first sign. He was avoiding my eyes, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, his jaw clenched like he was bracing for a fight. I put down a deposit on an apartment. It's not far. Just a few miles from here. I waited for him to say something else, to tell me he wasn't serious, that it was just a thought, just an idea. But he didn't. Because he meant it. He was leaving. And the worst part? I had pushed him to this. You didn't even talk to me about this, I said, and my voice came out smaller than I wanted. He sighed. Mom, I'm an adult. I don't have to ask for permission. I knew that. Of course I knew that. But hearing him say it felt like a slap to the face. Is this because of me? I asked, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. Because of us? The showers? The way we, Mom. His voice was sharp, too sharp. I stopped. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and what I saw in his expression made my stomach twist. Guilt. Sadness. And something else. Relief. That was what hurt the most. It's not just that, he said finally. But yeah. I think I need space. Space. Space for me. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I don't understand, I whispered, but that was a lie. I did understand. I just didn't want to. That night, I showered alone. For the first time in months, I stood under the hot water, letting it scald my skin, watching the steam curl around me. And for the first time, I felt the emptiness of the space. It wasn't just a bathroom. It was a symbol of everything I had refused to let go of. Maximus and I had turned it into a sanctuary, a place where the outside world didn't exist, where it was just the two of us, where I could pretend that nothing was changing. But it was changing. And I was the only one refusing to accept it. I ran my hands through my wet hair, pressing my forehead against the cool tile, my chest heaving. I had made so many mistakes. I had let my world shrink down to just one person. And now, that person was leaving me. And I had no one else left. The next morning, I called Tiana Buchanan. I didn't even know what I was going to say. But the second I heard her voice, I broke. I think I messed up. There was a pause. Then, her voice, steady and calm, talked to me, Braylee. And so I did. I told her everything. The showers. The closeness. The way Maximus had become my only source of comfort, the only person I talked to, the only person I relied on. The way I had ignored every red flag. The way I felt like I was losing myself now that he was leaving. And for the first time, I said the words I had been too afraid to admit. I don't know who I am without him. Silence. Then, a long sigh. Braylee, this sounds like emotional enmeshment. What? It's when a parent becomes too emotionally dependent on their child, she explained. It's what happens when the boundaries blur, when a parent leans on their child for support instead of the other way around. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. That's not what this is. Isn't it? She asked gently. Think about it. When was the last time you spent time with someone besides Maximus? I opened my mouth. And nothing came out. Because I couldn't remember. I had stopped going out. Stopped calling people. Stopped being a person outside of being his mother. Tiana's voice softened. I love you, Braylee. But you need to hear this, you can't make Maximus your whole world. That's not fair to him. Or to you. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Because she was right. And I had been so blind. The next day, I booked my first therapy session. It was terrifying. Sitting in a small office, across from a stranger, saying things out loud that I had spent years pretending weren't real. But once I started talking, I couldn't stop. I told her about my loneliness, about the way I had convinced myself that I didn't need anyone else. About how I had let my son fill the void left by all the relationships I never pursued. And my therapist said something that stuck with me. You're allowed to need people, Braylee. But you can't make just one person your entire world. I had spent so long thinking that I was being strong, that choosing to be alone was the right thing to do. But in reality, I had just been afraid. Afraid of rejection. Afraid of failure. Afraid of letting someone in and losing them all over again. So I had latched onto the one person who couldn't leave me. Until now. Maximus was moving on. And now, I had to learn how to do the same. The day Maximus moved out, I sat in the apartment alone for hours. I didn't cry. I thought I would. I thought I would collapse into myself, let the weight of it crush me, let the loneliness settle into my bones until I couldn't move. But I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the empty space where his things used to be. The closet door, half open. The kitchen counter, bare. The bathroom door, slightly ajar, as if waiting for someone to step inside. The apartment felt too quiet. For the first time in years, I was truly alone. And I had no idea what to do with myself. The first few weeks were the hardest. I had spent so long structuring my life around Maximus that without him, I felt untethered. I'd wake up expecting to hear his footsteps, to see him rushing around, to feel the presence of another person sharing my space. But every morning, it was just me. The loneliness crept in, slow and suffocating. There were moments I caught myself reaching for my phone, about to text him, "What are you doing? Did you eat?" before stopping myself. He needed space. And I needed to learn how to exist outside of him. So, for the first time in years, I focused on myself. Tiana was the first one to pull me out of my isolation. "We're going out," she said one night, showing up at my door like she knew I was making excuses in my head. No arguments. Get dressed. I wanted to say no. Wanted to hide inside my loneliness and let it swallow me whole. But something in me knew that if I didn't push myself, I would never change. So I went. And for the first time in a long time, I laughed. Not the forced, exhausted kind of laughter I had been surviving on for years. Real laughter. The kind that makes your stomach hurt. The kind that reminds you what it feels like to be alive. It wasn't easy at first. Socializing felt foreign. Like I was relearning how to be a person. But every time I stepped outside of my comfort zone, it got a little easier. I started reconnecting with people I had lost touch with. I went out for coffee. Had long conversations. Sat in a restaurant alone without feeling like I was missing something. And then, one day, I went on a date. It wasn't anything serious. Just coffee with a man Tiana introduced me to. A quiet, simple evening. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty for enjoying someone else's company. I didn't feel like I was betraying Maximus. Because for the first time in years, I realized that I was allowed to have a life, too. Maximus and I still talked. Not every day. Not like before. But enough. Some nights, he'd call just to check in. Other times, he'd send a picture of something funny, or a quick "hope you're doing okay." It wasn't constant anymore. But it was enough. And that was the difference. I wasn't clinging to every conversation, analyzing every word, desperate to keep him close. I was letting him go. Not in a way that meant losing him. But in a way that meant giving him space to grow into the man he was meant to be. And in doing that, I was growing too. The first time we saw each other in person after he moved out, it felt different. Not in a bad way. Just different. There was space between us now. A new kind of distance. But it wasn't cold. It was healthy. We went for coffee, and for the first time, we had a conversation that wasn't tangled in guilt or tension. "How's the new place?" I asked. He smiled. Small. Kind of messy. But it's good. And I believed him. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to hold on to him so tightly that I couldn't see him clearly. "I'm proud of you," I said. And I meant it. He nodded, stirring his coffee. Then, after a pause, he looked up at me. "I'm proud of you too, Mom." Something in my chest loosened. Because I knew what he meant. He had seen it, the change in me. The way I was finally